Welcome to Trails, Tales and Fails. So today I'm excited to say that our guest is Tom Joly. Tom has had a unique journey in endurance sports, transitioning from triathlon to ultra running and achieving remarkable success along the way. We'll explore how his love for the outdoors, which was developed in East Anglia, led him to ultra running, and how he's transformed himself both physically and mentally. From setting course records to finishing 16th at the UTMB 2023 as the top UK finisher, Tom's career is on an exciting trajectory as he aims to make ultra running his profession. So we're going to dive into his journey and the lessons he's learned. If you enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to share it on socials, tag us and let us know your thoughts. It really helps spread the word to runners. And if you're feeling generous, drop us a review on your favourite podcast platform. It makes a huge difference in helping more people discover the show. We hope you enjoy it.
Hello Tom, nice to see you. How are you?
Hi, I'm good, thanks. Yeah, thanks for having me on the podcast.
All right, it's great to have you. I'm going to start with a little icebreaker question, and it's one we ask our guests, so it's always interesting to get the answers on this. Are you ready? If you could have any celebrity pace you in a race, who would it be and why?
I would go for Scarlett Johansson.
So many answers you get are just brilliant. Some of them are like, whoa, why? Why would you go with that?
Because she's got a great booty, so if she was in front of you, it would be like having a sort of carrot dangling in front of a donkey, and it would keep me running forwards.
Yeah, I was not expecting that answer. I've got to be honest.
No, I think as a male, that's a great answer. That is a strong answer.
Other booties are available.
I think spend my time sometimes. Normally I'm behind, and I do occasionally go, it could be a worse view.
Oh, stop. Right, let's move on.
The problem is when it's like a good bum and they've got long hair, and then when you run past them and you realise it was actually a man the whole time. Have you ever had one of those?
No, not yet.
Okay.
He will let you know when that does happen.
Yeah.
Okay, that's quite a clear answer. So I'm going to move on to the next. What's your run guilty pleasure? And that can be a song or a snack or both that you're embarrassed to admit that you love during a race or training.
I couldn't think of anything like guilty pleasure snack related because I'm just sort of a bit of an animal when it comes to eating and being on the trail. So I might have to refer back to my original answer to the previous question, which is probably looking at girls' bums on the trail.
And that set the tone to the podcast today.
Well, it's going to be
I promise it's all uphill from here.
Yeah, that's right. Rob couldn't be better than this one. Rob really wants to make it, but he's currently parenting his small child and stepchildren, so I'm sure he'd rather be here. So yeah, he sends his apologies.
Talking about, yeah.
So what have you been up to for the last couple of weeks then, Tom?
Just been getting back into training and had a little off week last week, so managed to get away to Austria for the first holiday in the last 3 years, which was nice, and do 4 days of some alpine skiing. So nice bit of cross training.
And did you manage to switch off totally? I mean, you said it's like the first time you've had a break like that for 3 years. Did you manage to like put the phone away and not become too consumed in, like the lifestyle that you've had for the last 3 years?
Yeah, a bit, and had one beer, immediately regretted it. Did a bit of training just to keep things ticking over, but it was really nice just, like catching up with friends and doing something a bit different than just training.
Yeah.
Oh, amazing. Can you still hear me?
Loud and clear.
Great. Okay, so let's talk about your early life and athletic beginnings. Now, hopefully, I've got this all correct. I've done some research.
Please tell me if it's wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. Please don't just be polite. So, you grew up in East Anglia. I'm guessing. And how did that sort of shape your love for the outdoors, if it indeed did at all?
Yeah, it did. Grew up sort of in Suffolk and Norfolk, around an area called the Brecks, sort of near Thetford Forest. Um, Very flat but beautiful countryside, lots of big forests, lots of trees and woods. So I was always like playing in the woods and chasing deer and making fires and doing all that sort of stuff that you kind of hope that your children kind of grow up doing. And so I guess that really kind of set me up to be quite a sort of outdoorsy country bumpkin kind of person. Um, and that kind of continued on in school, where I played a lot of sport and was never very good at any particular sport, but I was always outside running around and getting your knees bruised and hands dirty kind of thing.
So what sort of sports were you exposed to when you were at school then?
I mean, everything, a lot of the sort of usual things at prep school: hockey, rugby, football, tennis, cricket. And then at sort of 13 to 18 at boarding school, did a lot of extra like curricular military sports like assault course and the drill squads. Got into biathlon. If there was like any extra sport that you could train for early in the morning, I was doing that on top of like the other sports, main sports like rugby and football. So for sort of 5 years, I guess I was training twice a day. And you're in like obviously a very sort of militarized, disciplined system. So it was almost like, you're sort of being groomed to be an athlete from a young age.
Okay, and when you were at school, when you were doing all of this, was there a point where you thought to yourself, "Oh, actually, I'm pretty good at running, pretty good at cycling," or was that sort of that came later on?
No, much later on, like I was terrible really at sort of team sports. So I was always in the fifths or, lower down teams. Um, and I think my best position in the school cross country might have been 10th, somewhere around that. So I was never like the best at anything. I was just like always that person who just persistently runs up and down the pitch, just chasing the ball, and just sort of being a nuisance. That was kind of my tactic.
I think being a nuisance is a very important role in team sports.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it seemed to work. Made up for my lack of skill.
yeah, no, I would agree with that. Yeah, it's not all about skill, is it? Absolutely, it's about like work rate and determination and drive, and like maybe some of those qualities that you had then at school. You sort of tapped into later on when you started getting into fitness a bit more. So you went to university. Whereabouts? I didn't go to university. Well, I did open university. Whereabouts did you go?
Durham.
Okay. And during that time at uni, then, did you sort of maintain the sport and the activity, or was it just sort of about having fun?
No, not at all. I took a year out, did some work, went to Kenya, then went traveling with friends in Asia, and kind of after, I guess I went to boarding school at the age of 9, and so then at the age of 19, you suddenly have this huge amount of freedom to do whatever you want. So I'd say that was kind of a reforming point in my life where went off the rails a bit, was drinking a lot, doing quite a lot of drugs at university, and kind of fell off the rails. Um, wasn't wasn't making the most of my time at university or doing a lot of sport. I played a bit of football, but mostly it was just sort of party lifestyle.
So, where did the turning point come then? Because I've been in that situation as well, at a similar sort of age, around about 18, where I think at the time I'd pretty much convinced myself that, oh, I'm slightly bigger, but that's fine because I play rugby, and I'm not particularly fit, but that's okay. Maybe that's just me. but then there like comes a point, I guess, where something happens and you just go like, this has to change. This can't continue. There's like this light bulb moment. When did that sort of come for you?
I guess it was sort of towards the end, I guess end of second year, and I'd already done retakes in first year, and I was failing, and there was suddenly that looming prospect of, well, you've got one more year at university, and then you're out in the real world, and it was kind of a wake up call. So that's actually the epiphany moment of like where I was like, okay, I need to get life back on track. So I decided to join the army. And then as part of that, I was like, well, I need to get fit. So I signed up for an Ironman, having not really done any longer endurance sports outside of like, I guess, 10K and cross country or whatever it was at school. So jumped in at the deep end that way, and very quickly found it was like that great replacement for the highs of like drinking and drugs. You get that amazing like runner's high and great feeling from exercise instead. And so it naturally just became like my new addiction, but in a much more obviously positive way.
Yeah, and healthier. It's definitely a journey moving to that euphoria. Is it called euphoria? It's like the running.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But sorry, I'm just going to go back to what you said about Kenya. I worked in Kenya for 2 years, and I love that place. Where in Kenya did you go?
Near Nyanyuki? No, not Nyanyuki.
Not Nakuru.
Nakuru. I knew it began with an N.
I worked in Nakuru for 2 years.
Nice. I was on a horse riding safari for a few months, so it was a really good experience.
I won't. I'll stay on Charles Max, promise. But yeah, Kenya's got a special place in my heart. So you mentioned about the move into triathlons, and you've had some fantastic results in Ironman Wales, which is 2013, and Ironman Nice in 2014, which seems like a long time ago, but I guess it's it was just like I think kind of good. It's been a journey, like to like sustained it. This is amazing. Did these experiences influence your approach to training and racing?
Yeah, Ironman Wales. I bought a bike off eBay. I think I took a pair of my mum's shoes. Obviously, being broke student, didn't have any money at the time, and I think I managed to do the whole thing, like accommodation, entry fee, everything for under £1,000, having no idea really what I was getting into. And I think that was like a 13 and a half hours finish time in the end. So it was a long day out, and like really, I really didn't enjoy it at all.
How long had you been doing it for at that point?
3-4 months.
I mean, to do 13 hours though, I mean, I know I say I know for a fact. I don't think the Ironman of Wales is the flattest, is it?
No, it is a tough course.
So yeah, that was it.
Yeah.
What was your favourite at that point? What did you enjoy the most? And is it like
I was always just waiting to get off the bike to do the run. So like I'd never swum further than a mile, so that was awful. Then I'd never cycled further than 80 miles, I think. And I'd done all my training in Norfolk, so like 112 miles around Pembrokeshire is like totally different. And then I got off the run and was sort of working my way back up the field. So I kind of always knew that the run was my stronger point.
Oh, wow, amazing. And then from Ironman triathlons, you transitioned to ultra running. So what prompted that change, and how did your first ultra marathon in 2017 shape your path as the awesome runner you are today?
So after Wales, I then did Nice, and I think that was about 10 and a half hours. And so I was like, wow, that's a great improvement, like 3-hour improvement in the space of, I don't know, 9 months or something. And that's where I got the idea, like, maybe I could be a professional triathlete. And I was still like doing everything. I had no idea about training principles or anything. So I was like, I think the room for potential is still a lot higher. for improvement is much higher. And so that's really where I first got the idea about 11 years ago now, that I might be able to be a professional athlete. And then then I went into the army. So like the whole triathlon thing got put on hold because it didn't have time to do any swimming or cycling, or availability. And so then after the army, I signed up again for a few more Ironman, to try and qualify. And eventually I did qualify for Kona, which I went to in 2022. But even I was training full time in 2022 between triathlon and trail, and even training full time. Like I had a good race in Kona, like 9 hours 20, I think. But that was like 30th in my age group, and are still a long way off the top guys who are going under 8 now, for top 10. So like the sport just moved on really quickly in that time that I was out of the sport. So my running improved during that time, but the swim and bike I was way off. So that was kind of like the defining moment that I was like, ooh, maybe I should try something else, and maybe trail running and ultra running might be the path to become a professional athlete.
Yeah, amazing.
Oh, that's the one I would choose as well, because I think that there is just something uniquely special about being able to go off on the trails and having that. I quite like the element of feeling like kind of alone quite a lot of the time, and you possibly don't get that feeling quite so much with the road bike training, and in mountain bike is a bit different, but. Yeah, that would be the one I would go for. Swimming, I find really difficult to get on board with.
Apparently, and Tom, tell me if I'm wrong, but in the Ironman, do you get pushed in the water?
Yeah, I mean it's got better. Like I remember in Nice and stuff, it was a beach mass start, and that was just like everyone's thrashing the water. People are pulling on your feet and stuff. So when they sort of stopped those mass wave starts and moved to time starts for different age groups, it got a lot better. And yeah, but it was horrible those first few times, especially if you're not a strong swimmer.
Yeah, I think that I'm not a strong swimmer, and that would I feel panicked even just mentioning it to you. But yeah. So in 2018, you won the Wall, which I did a bit of research and it looks like an awesome run. Would you recommend it?
Yeah, I think it's a really good one for like beginners, because actually I think half of it is on road, and like the elevation gain is only a bit over 1,000 meters. So like you could probably do it in a pair of road shoes, and you don't need to have, I guess, a lot of trail sort of technical experience.
Yeah, is it marked? Just asking for a friend.
Is it marked? And it's marked, yeah, key, because no one likes navigating. Yeah.
I just like panicked. I'm doing a race in July and it's not going to be marked, and it's like my massive hurdle. Anyway, did that victory impact your confidence, and your future goals within ultra running?
Yeah, so going back to your previous question, I did that was the same race in 2017, and I was based up in Catterick at the time with the army, so it was sort of nearby, and I thought after the first year I came 5th, and I was like I hadn't trained for it really, and decided in 2018 I could win this race potentially, so put in a bit of effort into a training schedule, and yeah, I think I just got the course record by about 5 minutes.
Amazing.
And it's funny because now I look back at it and I look at the pace and I kind of laugh because the course record has since dropped by another hour, which is a much more respectable time. But at the time when I set the course records, it was like a real light bulb moment. Like, actually, look, if you are the fastest person to run that route, then maybe you've got a shot at being a professional.
Yeah, I guess if you'd have gone really, really big into a really competitive race and you weren't at the sort of level that you are now back then, and you're sort of going, oh, right, I came 25th, you may well have had those same thoughts about that as you had about maybe some like some thoughts relating to Ironman. So I guess in a way, even though you might not realise it, that could have, as you said, just been that little confidence booster to go, right, actually, maybe there is something here, maybe I can kick on.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, once you get that little bit of self-belief, it snowballs into more and more.
Yeah. Oh, amazing. So I've done some reading in your blog, which is interesting. You're obviously a stats man, which we can talk about in a little bit.
Also a big stats fan, so you've met a match there.
So it says that you hope to become, at the time of writing, a professional ultra runner, and I don't really know what that looks like, and I'm guessing that looks different to different people. So for you, that sort of wanting to be a professional ultra runner, what does that look like for Tom?
Yeah, so I don't know how far you dug back in the blog, but the article I remember I wrote before I went full time was trying to define what that actually meant, which is kind of hard in a sport which doesn't actually have a defined sort of a definition for what a professional trail runner is. So for me, I think it focused around sort of three aspects, which was like the performance side, the following side, social media, etc., and then the financial side. And I sort of considered those three components as like what makes a professional trail runner. But particularly focusing on the finance side, like profession, means you make money at it. And I wouldn't recommend it for anyone who wants to make money. But it can be done. You can scrape a living from the sport if you know what you're doing.
So as part of that, you decided that you were going to use your life savings to move to Spain.
Which is brave.
Yeah, it is really brave. I mean, yeah, you're obviously incredibly motivated to do that because that is brave. I mean, I guess the decision what I would say is what specifically impacted your decision to go to Spain. Is it like lifestyle? Is it weather? You've got links out there. Is it terrain? Why did you choose where you chose?
It was a bit of a weird one because I guess it was like the decision to move out here had been a long time coming because I knew that I wasn't good enough for someone to give me a contract for a 30. If you're doing a 13-hour Ironman, no one's gonna sponsor you. So I knew I had to sort of invest in myself to make it happen. So I guess it was like over the sort of 7-year period when I was working that I was able to save up enough money. And part of the reason Spain is like the property is cheaper. But I came across this area from a book, Driving Over Lemons, by Chris Stewart, who was the original drummer for Genesis. Anyway, he wrote these sort of rather romantic novels about this area called the Alpujarras in the south of Spain near Granada. And I thought it just sounded amazing. Persuaded my girlfriend at the time, unsuspecting girlfriend at the time, said, let's go on a holiday to this place. She didn't know that I was sort of wrecking it out as a potential training camp spot, and just like got here, fell in love with the place, thought it was just like beautiful, unspoilt, amazing mountains, great weather, great food, everything you sort of want as an athlete. And like the roads are fantastic for cycling, the trails are fantastic for running. You can get to the beach, you can go skiing in Sierra Nevada. So it has everything like you could ever want as an athlete.
Amazing. And culturally, how's that shift been for you? I mean, I'm guessing you've been there for a while, so you've probably picked up quite a bit of the language.
Not as much as I should have.
Are you on Duolingo?
I'm on Duolingo. My phone is actually perched on a Spanish book.
Yeah.
Oh, amazing. I keep saying I would love to move, somewhere like mountains. So, but we're really lucky where we live. We've got loads of amazing trails, so not too many complaints.
Right, ready?
Nice.
I'm
This is
ready.
this is one of our little favourite bits. One of them is the truth or lie. I'm hoping Max has given you a heads up on this.
Yeah, he did, thankfully, because I hate these kind of questions because you want to choose something that's not too, rude, but something that's entertaining at the same time.
I wonder if you've cheated and used Max uses ChatGPT,
GPT.
whatever that's called. So I don't tell me, but I wonder if you've used that to help you as a tech.
No, I don't use AI.
Okay, right, there we go. So please, we've got our little pens. We get quite competitive, Tom. I better warn you.
Okay.
Please,
Wow.
can you give us 2 true? Yeah, what am I saying? Is it 1 true, 2 true and a lie?
No, you need to get up to speed. That's not how we do things anymore. Oh my gosh. No. It's just a statement, and we have to ask questions and try and figure out if it's true or false.
I can tell you if one is true or a lie if that helps.
Yes, please. Look, please, can you give me a statement about yourself, and we will ask questions and try and guess what it is. Go.
Maybe they're both lies. What did I think of? Oh yeah, one was I haven't. No, what was it? I haven't paid for a haircut in the last 3 years. I've cut my hair myself for the last 3 years. And the second one was I into a fight with an orangutan.
Okay. I'm going to go with the second statement first.
Okay.
Where were you when you had a fight with an orangutan?
In Borneo.
These are good, Tom. These are good. Tom, how often do you cut your hair?
Oh, we're jumping to another question now.
Yeah. Swing. Yeah. Try and keep them
It depends on the sort of style I'm going for. So maybe it could be like once a month or once every 6 months, depending on what look I'm going for.
And how do you manage the back, Tom? That's what I'd like to know.
Good question, Max.
So I have come up with a system where I have one mirror in front of me and then one to the side so that I can see like behind with the angle, so I can do around the ears and stuff.
And do you have a pair of... Didn't think I'd ask this evening. Do you have a pair of hairdressing scissors?
Yes, it's mostly the sort of shearing kind, but it comes with a little, pair for cutting your fringe and things.
How old were you when you had the fight in Borneo with the orangutan?
18.
18. And he came off worse?
I think I did.
Who rescued you?
Luckily, like the orangutan and I obviously came to an agreement, and it sort of just settled that way.
Shook hands, gentleman's agreement.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Right. I'll let you go first.
Am I going to tell the answer? So it's.
Well, no, you can say what you think, and then we'll just do a little scoring system.
Okay. Having questioned Tom Joly on the 2 statements given, the Borneo one, an orangutan, is true, and the haircut is false.
Well, that is also what I would go for.
Yeah.
It is what I'd go for. The way that he was cutting his fringe, I was a bit unsure of that.
Now, if Bob was here, let's see if Bob was here. We'll say the other way around. So
then, just to be different. Okay. Right, Tom. What are the answers?
Well, you're right about the orangutan. That was true. He came running down. He came swinging down out of the trees with a stick in his mouth and ran towards me and my friends. And my friends legged it. And I was desperate to get my camera out, take a picture. And he had the stick in his hand and he jumped up onto my leg, jumped up onto my shoulder, kind of knocked me in the face, and then jumped away again. And apparently he was an immature male, and they can be quite boisterous like that at the sanctuary. So that was quite fun. But you're wrong about the haircut. I can't believe it. I mean, it must be a good haircut. because I've been cussing them myself for the last 3 years.
Now you've just come up close to the screen.
Yeah.
Business doesn't work out. I reckon.
Good job.
Good job.
Good news.
Actually, and I know this because I was myself thinking about saving money for haircuts. You can actually buy these mirrors which sit back at the door, and you actually have a mirror at the back and then 2 mirrors on the side. It's like a pre-made DIY hairdressing mirror.
Nice.
Is this you're also considering?
No. No, absolutely not. Right, so it's one piece. So, of course.
All right, Tom and Matt.
I'm hoping you've not gone for something which is going to be obvious to me otherwise.
No, so it's really hard, Tom, because obviously living with Max, he knows a lot about running scenarios, but I think I've got a good one. So, Tom, Rob's not here this evening, so I have checked that I'm able to use this scenario. When I run with Rob in the mornings, and they're early, we call them the 5 o'clock clubs. Rob always has to stop for a poo.
Oh God!
And this means I carry on running.
True.
I have to then run. I then run extra miles. Oh, not miles. But I run extra because I'm not going to literally stop whilst he goes to a poo. And then he makes me finish the run, so we've got then an equal distance. Otherwise, he doesn't feel it's fair. True.
Oh, that little bit at the end's kind of thrown me because.
So if we've got 6 miles to run, I will clock 6 miles first, and he will have to run, and I'll have to run extra to make sure he's clocked the same distance.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to react to this because I don't want to influence Tom's decision.
Okay.
So Tom, if you've got any questions, that's fine.
So who's the person who's concerned about running the same distance? You
Rob.
are, Max.
No, so a mate of ours who's normally on the podcast with us, he's called Big Rob.
Okay, Rob. So Rob's concerned.
So
about
Rob
always hitting the same distance.
Correct.
When he runs, does he always round up his mileage to be exactly 6 miles or 5 miles on the dot?
That's a good question. I'm going to say no, but he is competitive.
Okay, on that basis, if he's not one of those Strava Nazis, then I'm actually going to go with false.
Okay. So you can change your answer if you want to after this question. So,
sorry, I haven't done the second one.
How would you feel about this scenario in terms of times for getting back to work, sorting the kids out, if you then have to see Rob running for that extra period of time?
So you run it together.
You run it together.
Yeah. So I've always clocked more than him, but he has to clock the distance that was initially set.
Okay. I'm going to look in my answer.
What are you going to share with Tom in case Tom wants to change his?
I'm going to go with, and I could be wrong, but I'm going to go with true.
Oh, we've got a difference. I do feel Tom's at a disadvantage, but I have tried to be open. It's true, but it's true.
Yeah,
I should have stuck with my original answer. The pooing was just too honest.
Yeah, I did check it, Bob, but yeah, he always stops for a poo. It's so boring. I then run extra, and then he's like, "Oh, I've got to then make the same distance as you." So then we have to run extra. So everything on Strava is me always doing a little bit extra because he's done a poo.
Okay. Right, mine nothing to do with poo. It was going to be, but I've changed it because I don't think we need to about poo.
Was it going to be about poo?
Before running, I ran for a 5k, and after 3k, the soles of my shoe fell off, and I had to run the remaining 2k without sole.
How old were you?
I think I would have probably been about, the fact that, let's just say, my trainers were
answer.
23.
What brand of trainers were they?
Good question.
Well, back then, money was tight. I was spending too much money going out at the weekends. So they would have been really rubbish, not fit for purpose, Adidas trainers. Not that Adidas is rubbish, but a trainer that's rubbish
Just need to know the brand.
I tell you that's rubbish for running.
Oh gosh, I don't know. You didn't really run much back then. It was more like rugby boot.
Well, you don't know. You didn't know me.
I'm guessing.
Okay.
Okay, Tom, any more questions?
No, I've decided.
Okay, as you're the guest, what do you think?
Well, I think because he didn't come up with an actual brand, he was sort of stalling for time.
Yeah.
So I'm going with false.
Okay, well, Tom, to make it a game, and because I'm competitive, in case I get to beat you, I'm gonna go true because it's possible. Because I don't think you ran much then in the back in the day. So I'm gonna lock in true.
Well, I can reveal.
Yeah, we're ready.
The answer is false.
Yes.
Got
one.
Yeah.
Maxim, Tom, share the spoils.
Congratulations, guys. Congratulations.
Okay.
I'm gonna move swiftly on because I lost.
Sarah, 2023.
Yeah, that's only last year, Tom, and it was a pretty epic year.
2023. Yeah, it was a good year.
A good year. So let's just share. It was the third at Trans Gran Canaria Advanced 85 kilometre. First at Ultra Sierra Nevada 60 kilometre.
Which I'm guessing must be down the road from you.
Just on the other side of the mountain. Yeah.
Good to do recce's.
I know that course pretty well now.
And there's more. First at I'm going to say this wrong. First at Translantao.
Translantao. Yeah.
Sorry. Translantao. That's 140k and finishing 16th at UTMB, which is just awesome.
I remember you as well being like the like one of the spoken about British runners for that year at UTMB, which was a super competitive year. I went back on and looked at like the top 10, and there were a couple of really big, several really big names in there.
So and that's a lot. There's a lot there, but what were some of your standout moments? And even if you want to break down all the events, that would be amazing. But can you choose some?
I'll also add there was obviously because not all results are on there. There was a first to the 50k here, Ventileguas, which was a course record, and an 11th place at the World Trail Running Championships, World Mountain and Trail Running Championships in the long course.
Where are those?
That's weird if they're not on.
They're on your. I sent it on your site, and I picked out sort of those four.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
I'm just posting.
I'll have a go at the researcher.
Yeah, no. The other ones are all correct. All good.
All of those gives us all the highlights. I mean, like you say, what a year.
Yeah, it was a bit of a 2022 was kind of like races I focused on that I thought I could win, and then 2023 was like picking races that would have the highest level of competition, because like I'm sure you know, even if you do well at a local race, it doesn't actually mean anything in the wider community or in the eyes of sponsors, because they only really care about good performances at the sort of bigger races.
And I mean, we've talked about Trans Gran Canaria, haven't we?
Oh yeah.
What was it? Yeah. What was that one like?
I'd say the advanced course is actually a really good one, because you start in a different place. I attempted the classic distance last year, and actually I didn't really enjoy the first sort of third of the race, because you're sort of running through drainage ditches and things, and it's less scenic being at night, whereas the 85k is during the day and you see the whole island still, but the views are much better and it's a much nicer course, I thought.
Oh, that's good to know. And UTMB, is it what everyone says? Is it incorrect? Tell us.
Yeah, there's still no other race where you get that like level of crowd support and noise and hype and media attention, and just like it's got it all. that is still one of a kind.
Yeah. And did you have a crew there for that one?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I had 2 friends crewing for me. One was doing the logistics and one was doing the sort of media side of things. So that worked out really well.
Well, I seem to remember, were you being crewed from 2 people that were at the time to do with Ultra X?
Yeah, exactly. Hannah Tiddesley, who used to work there, and Chris Taylor, who worked there before as well, who are now a happy couple with a baby.
Sorry, was Hannah doing the media for you?
She was, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we've met her. Well,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that'll be 2026.
Yeah, I'm going out there next year. So it'll
Oh,
be
nice. Which race are you doing?
100 miles.
Nice.
Yeah. Anyway, I'll say that another time. So reflecting on that season, what do you think contributed most to your success and the progress in the sport, which was epic?
I suppose I've been building up year on year in terms of training volume. So I think I managed to do sort of 750 hours in my last year of full-time work, and that was like really pushing it because trying to fit in everything is difficult. And then in 2022, I did about 1,000 hours with a lot of time on the bike. So I built up a really good like aerobic base. And then in 2023, I was just like solely focused on trail running. So it worked quite well as like a longer term plan. So I'd say that was probably the main factor that led to that success. But I'll caveat and say I was probably burning too many matches in that two-year period, because last year the wheels sort of really came off and I really struggled as a result from doing all of those races and training probably a bit too much.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, that does take us on to the next sort of section, if you like, because you touched on the fact that you were doing a lot of high volume training. So I was like looking at some of the stats that you put on your website about like your like 3-week build up to an event. Where I've got down using 12 sessions. I mean, like, you don't mind me sharing this because it's available on your website.
Yeah, of course.
And there's, like there's threshold runs, tempo run, 2 long runs, recovery rides, 2 long rides, 2 seconds, and there's low intensity days. That's like training 7 days a week, 12 sessions. And I know that's not for the duration of all of your training blocks. That's when you're looking to like maximize volume. How did you sort of manage to deal with that sort of, well, not that training, but the high volume of training physically and mentally, over that sort of 2-year period that you mentioned?
Yeah. I had an idea really looking at sort of triathletes and the volumes they were doing, which can be upwards of 1,300 hours a year. And they could do that because a lot of it is swimming and biking, and so a lot less impact.
Yeah.
So with the run making up most of my training, it was never going to be that high, but I suspected it could be around the 1,000-hour mark. And I sort of also, like a friend who used to come cycling here, he's diabetic, and so he was always really on point with his fueling. And like we would go for like 6-hour rides, and I would eat like a banana and a flapjack in 6 hours, and he would just sort of be laughing at me because he knew his blood sugar the whole time, and so he was eating the whole time, and he pointed out like you're definitely not fueling enough. And so when that kind of clicked, a big part of like those 2 years was being really good at eating, and like I enjoy cooking, and I enjoy the food out here in Spain, but it becomes a sort of a job in itself, just meeting the sort of energy and calorie demands and the recovery demands. So you just have got to eat a lot.
And it's not cheap, right? If you were eating food which is going to be giving you nutrients and fueling you properly and going to give you the best possible chance, that's not going to be cheap food, is it?
No. Like I budget for like 200 euros a week, and it's like the cost of living in Spain is much lower than the UK. So €200 is a lot of food every week.
Yeah. So you've spoken about like a couple of things that you had to learn over that 2-year period. Is most of what you've learned through just having conversations with other people in the industry and then just doing your own research, because you come across as being somebody who is very well researched, or did you sort of work with a coach as well to get some of this information to make your sort of training and your own knowledge just more sustainable?
No, it's been fully self-coached the entire sort of first 10 years, and started off with no knowledge, sort of handwritten program on a piece of paper. But like you said, did realize I needed to do some homework. So read up a lot from various coaches, various books and things, and tested. I did a lot of like seeing what worked for me kind of thing, trying one schedule, different routines, different amounts of time on the bike, different amounts of intensity. Like there was a period where I was like, I'll do 5 long runs a week. And that lasted for about 2 weeks because yeah, as you can imagine, it wasn't very sensible. But so I tried a lot of things and sort of ended up with a fairly standard, I guess, program of 2 to 3 intensity sessions a week. But the focus was always like trying to maximize the volume while maintaining a sort of, a roughly an 80-20 intensity distribution.
Yeah.
And then this year, after the disaster that was 2024, I had been thinking about getting a coach then, because I was like, I kind of got myself up to scoring sort of high 800s. Like I think I got 3 scores of 890, around the 890 point on the index system. And I kind of felt like I'd taken it as far as I could go on my own.
Sure.
But I'm still reluctant to get a coach because on the other side, I was like, I've made it this far just on my own programming.
Yeah.
Perhaps I can take it further.
Do you find... Oh, sorry.
So I was just going to say, so this year I have actually started working with a coach, Doug Stewart, TMR Coaching, and so far it seems to be a great fit.
I was going to ask before you had the coach, I find it quite overwhelming, sort of trying to fit it all in. And how did you find it when you were doing it yourself?
It's it's definitely more work, and you're always relying, like there's more pressure on yourself because you've written a program that may not necessarily be sensible. So you're the coach and the athlete at the same time. So you're in these two mindsets of like, I want to push myself, but also don't break the athlete. And now having a coach, that, it relieves you of that responsibility. So now I'm just, a robot. I just do what I'm told. And actually I'm finding it a great relief because I don't have to think about like changing the program the whole time, or like, should I be doing this or shouldn't I be doing that? Like, am I getting enough recovery? Like I can just put that all to rest and just do the program.
And are you enjoying that process more and feeling more relaxed? And
yeah, and I'd say like the key for me is the trust side of things. And Doug studied psychology, so I'm sure he would agree on this side of things, is like, get someone who you believe in, because one of the most important things, whether you're training yourself and writing your own program, is believing in that program and believing that program is going to work. And like, you could have the best program in the world, but if you don't think it's going to work, when you get to that start line, you're going to have all those like fears and doubts of like, oh, was that right or not? But if you're on that start line and you're like, I'm convinced I've done everything within my power to like get me to that standard, then chances are, again, it's that positive reinforcement that it will work.
Yeah, I think that's related. Yeah.
So would you say that getting a coach has improved your holistic approach to the sport, and does it allow you to switch off more, be less stressed about always thinking about what you should be doing? Do you find that like just generally your overall quality of life and sort of
well-being
and well-being it has been better as a result of that? I'm guessing as well. As you were sort of alluding to, you might find it quite difficult to just pull back on the training if you need to. Whereas if you're with a coach, they're very good at just going, actually, do you know what?
No.
You're not feeling great. Take a couple of days off. So, yeah, do you think it has made a difference to your sort of overall well-being?
Yeah, definitely. Plus, they've got experience of other athletes, so whatever you're experiencing, they've heard that 10 times before. Chances are, they have the correct answer already. And like, I think a lot of ultra runners, particularly perhaps introverted or individuals, are reluctant, to ask for help. And I'm certainly, I put myself in that category of like, no, I just do it myself, whether it's right or wrong, I'll work it out. But actually, if you got to make yourself vulnerable, and you've got to try and trust someone and believe that the advice and help that they're giving you is correct.
Yeah.
So I guess that's the hurdle. But so don't be afraid to ask for help.
Yeah, I think the fact that you did 10 years on your own, and then that was one chapter, and now you're into your next chapter, and I think that is all part of your awesome book. Yeah,
Thanks.
we work with this, don't we? So
Yeah.
we should move on to sponsorship and professional running. So let's talk sponsorship. I really hope I said it correctly. How do you determine your value as an athlete when negotiating with brands like
Taylor?
Thank you. Your current sponsor.
Yeah, it's a great question, and like it's something I've been thinking about non-stop since going full time. And so I really I did a bit of research and like digging into the numbers of looking at the relationship between your social media following and your ITRA index performance. And like basically the higher your scores, the more of a following you have, but the correlation isn't that strong. There is a correlation, but it's not that strong. And I obviously want to be professional, which means making money. So I've been asking and talking to sponsors a lot and trying to get a contract. And so I had 4 offers now in total over the last period of a year, which gave me a really good feel for like the level that I'm at and how much I could be worth. So I tried to sort of build a bit of a formula to help other athletes sort of calculate what they might be worth, whether it's doing a social media post, just a one-off, or if they're actually looking for a long-term contract. And you can find that article on my blog.
Yeah. So yes, haven't seen that particular one. I've seen various articles. Obviously, I know about your research on the sponsorship side of things, which is why I wanted to talk about it, because actually I think lots of people who might be in a position where I know that more young people are sort of starting to filter into the sport sort of year on year. And actually, if you're in your position, sort of 23, 24, there isn't probably an awful lot of information available to people on how they can make that jump. And if you're not able to dedicate a lot of time to training, actually making that jump from going from having a 750 ranking to like an 850 ranking is presumably an awful lot of time on top to make that difference up.
Yeah, that's kind of like the difference between I was like at 700 before I went full time, and 2 years later I was at sort of 880 kind of thing. So that is like the difference between good amateur to sort of elite, I guess.
Yeah. So if you were an athlete just starting out, what advice would you give them about social media or anything else which would be beneficial to attracting sponsorship? Obviously, the running needs to speak for itself. Is it heavily weighted towards good results and obviously the right results and social media following, or are there other things to consider?
I think the results were still like the primary driver, like the most important thing. And then I sort of suspected like social media must be the second most important thing, but from my experience at least, it's a lot of the contract offers came as a result of actually just networking and like making friends within the sport. Friends or like guys who are met at races, and then a couple of years later, turns out that they become like the team manager for that team, and all of a sudden you've got this great like link or network of people that you can talk to. So it's sort of a mix of all of those three components. And going back, like in terms of advising people, I'd say a lot of like people call me up occasionally and ask for advice, and they all say the same thing. It's like what do I post on social media? Like what, like just my daily runs, or what do I do? They don't really understand the process or necessarily enjoy it or don't want to do it. And I think I was certainly the same. So I feel like it's kind of like this necessary evil, because you've got to get into your head, like at the end of the day, the money is coming out of marketing budgets, and you are essentially being a face for the company to model their clothes, to to represent the brand. And so advertising is actually part of the job, whether you like it or not. It doesn't have to be Instagram. There's a lot of argument sort of saying that actually, what does a 7-second reel do for that brand? Like, is that a call to action? Is that going to lead to a sale? Or doing a project, doing a longer feature film, YouTube or whatever, might actually be more beneficial to the brand. And I think, although Instagram is certainly one of the big ones, I think more and more are looking to that longer form content. So if that's what you enjoy more than like, blogging or posting, do what you enjoy as well, because it all adds value.
But I suppose that then also highlights the importance of having more time to be able to do that, because longer content will often require maybe more thinking behind it, more editing. So then that's just more time in itself, isn't it?
Yeah. That is also the problem. Like, if you as soon as you open Instagram as well, you lose 20 minutes. It's just suddenly disappeared before you've even done a post as well. So yeah, it does take up time.
I find this really interesting, because I find Instagram and social media really hard, and Max is often saying you need to be putting more on, and everything you're saying is in just to put up it's not, you're saying it's not just, it's getting the balance, isn't it, of not just putting up your run. And I like to go out and run, I don't want to be taking photographs, and then it takes me so long to write a post and to what to hashtag and what to do. And I find it, if I say traumatic, that's possibly too big a word, but it is going in that direction.
Yeah.
But I hear what you're saying, and it all makes sense and connects. But it's just something that it's a real mindset shift for myself in embracing that.
I think like you guys are saying that you're sort of stat people as well.
I'm not.
And
I'm
like,
not. I'm not.
oh,
I'm
you're
not.
not. Okay,
100%
just Max.
just Max.
But like, I think if if you like that sort of stuff, then do your posts on those kind of stats, whether it's race results or splits or scores or whatever it is, because other people, like, you can probably tell we're not alone in the ultra running community. People are quite into that kind of thing. So whatever it is that interests you in the sport, I think you should, focus on that. Chances are other people will be as well.
Yeah, but I think for me, I mean, Max is more about stats, and you're like, that's one of the things you're interested in. And
Yeah.
but for me, it's the I said last week, like, it's the shouting woohoo running down hills and the freedom that it gives me in my head. I just don't know whether that, yeah. So I just find it's very interesting, that whole connecting it all together really into how to make it work for people. And yeah, and congratulations to having 4 offers for sponsorships. That's amazing.
Thank you. Yeah. And I think you're sort of going to get onto the, like, how did you choose or like pick the right one? Is that one
That's
of
the
the?
next one. Go.
And I should probably say, like, I had those offers. You'd be amazed. A lot of them either like fell through because I was too honest. Like, I said, could I have more time because I'm waiting to hear from another brand, and then the Vibram at the time said, well, if you're waiting for them, we're not interested. So they pulled their offer.
Oh,
Another one came through an agent, and that took sort of months to get hashed out. And then by the time I wanted to sign, there was an issue with funding, so that one actually disappeared. Another one was with a brand of shoes I didn't actually like. So I'd say that is also like a really important consideration. Like, don't just go for any old brand because you want a contract. Like, go for the brand that suits and works for you, because you need to believe in it and it needs to work for racing. And so that's kind of how, luckily, I ended up with the final offer at the end of last year for Kailas, and I love the shoes, and the team is great as well. Like, they've got a lot of athletes who sort of fly under the radar, but are actually incredible, like top world-class athletes. So it's like a sort of underdog team, which I really like.
And I think it's nice as well to be in a position where, like, it's great that it's all worked out and you got the offer. But I think for me, if I said to a brand that I just needed a little bit more time and they just pulled the plug, it would be for me like going for an interview, and I would feel like I would be wanting to interview them as much as they were interviewing me. And then for somebody to turn around and say, "Oh, do you know what? Actually, we don't value this enough to be able to wait for a little bit," I think I would probably go, "Well, stuff you. I don't want an offer from you anyway."
Well,
Yeah.
Well, that's possibly. I mean, it probably does leave quite a sour taste.
Yeah.
It's kind of the state of the sport at the moment, where the brands have, they're holding all the cards. There's a lot of athletes who want that position. And so if you don't bend to their will, then you're out. Next person step up, because there's always someone who's gonna fill those shoes.
And do they supply kit as well, or is it just trainers? And what's your connection with them? And do you have the commitment to touch base with them regularly? What's involved in it?
Yeah, so it's all sort of trail running kit. They're sort of the equivalent of the North Face, but the Chinese version. So they've got loads of great mountaineering kit, huge range of shoes, and I've been testing them all the last couple of weeks. So really enjoying some of the race shoes, which are on par, I'd say, with any of the other top brands. And they've got some English people at the company, so there's no communication barrier. We've got team camp coming up in Italy next month, so it's like, it feels like an actual like team environment where everyone sort of talks to each other and you're getting support for races and things. It's not just like, here's the shoes, here's the kit, go take some photos and run some races. It's like you're actually involved in the process.
And that's really important, to feel the value factor is really important, rather than being a number. I go back to the word connections. I think it's so important.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, it is. Well, that's exciting. Team camps.
Yeah.
And your office then, are they things that you've managed to source mainly yourself, or do you work with an agent, or do agents approach you? I don't know enough about the sport at that end to know what sort of a role an agent might play.
Yeah, so to start with, it was always like just me emailing, DMing brands. Mostly you just get like no or whatever chucked back in your face. Occasionally you get like a free belt or a free pair of shoes. So it's not easy, like, starting out. And then sort of as the results started to come, Hannah was actually acting as my agent for a little while. I probably was a bit impatient, then had the win at Translantal, and another agency, Santara, sort of contacted me, and they were big in triathlon, so I was kind of a bit, I guess, wooed by them. So I sort of switched over to them, got very excited at the idea, because they were sort of talking to big brands like, New Balance and Nike and things. But actually nothing came of it. I didn't sign any deals through the agency. So I think there's like a level. Again, I talk about this in the blog. Like, there are 3 levels of athletes, professional level athletes, and I've sort of considered myself around that level 1 area, where the value of the contract is probably not worthwhile to an agent. So I wouldn't advise that, like, people starting out, like, need an agent. Like, you can probably get what you need yourself. Once the big results start coming through, the following will naturally come up, and you're in a position then where the value of the contract is high enough that it's worth having an agent, because they could make the difference between, say, a £20,000 contract and a £40,000 contract. And then if you're paying your 20% on top of that, then it's obviously a worthwhile move to make.
Well, lots to consider.
Yeah.
Lots to consider.
How far do you think, or how long do you think it will be, if ever, that this sport sort of starts to not catch up, because it probably might close the gap, I don't know. But when you start thinking about triathlon, I mean, it's obviously a long way behind in terms of money.
Yeah.
I think it's going to slowly start to catch up over the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, I always use triathlon as like as an example and a sort of skeleton for trail. It's probably, if you look at the money involved now, like Cat Matthews last year won 500,000 in prize money from various series, including Ironman. Trail running is nowhere near that yet. If you win Golden Trail Series, I think it might be 30,000. If you win Trail Majors, is it 12? Win at UTMB is 20,000. So, even if you won all three of the major series in trail running, you're still a long way off.
Yeah.
So I suspect, with it being a participation sport as well, like races are generating revenue largely from participants and entry fees. Until we get more coverage and therefore more advertising time, those numbers are going to stay relatively low. But certainly moving in the right direction with camera runners, drones, and better satellite coverage on remote places. So I think, maybe in 10 years' time, trail could be close to where sort of triathlon is now.
Yeah.
It's an exciting process to sort of be part of it and to see it and to live through it.
Yeah, and I think now is the time. Like, if you're going to get into it, this is like a really great opportunity, because the same with triathlon. Like, now the standard is so high, it's very difficult to sort of break through in the sport. Whereas trail is sort of still a little bit in its infancy, so it's a great opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Can I ask? I've added a question. Can I ask? Am I allowed to ask this question?
Away.
Okay, I've added a question, Tom.
Cool.
I wrote here to Matt. Can we ask? Are you ready? What races have you got planned for 2025?
It's an easy one. I've got Chianti 120k in March, which is lining up to be a hot one. Killian, Vincent, and rumour has it Jim will be there as well, amongst other big names. So that's exciting.
Sorry, what was that one? I missed the start of the word of it.
Chianti, 120 kilometres in Italy.
Oh, wow. In March?
Which is on one of the golden tickets races.
Oh, wow.
For Western States. So a lot will depend on that, whether I get a ticket or not. And then later in the year, probably Verbia St. Bernard, 76k in July, to lead up to UTMB at the end of August. And then Templiers 100k at the end of the year is the current schedule.
UTMB again then, 100 miler again this year?
Yeah, and I might do Alsace Grand 100 miler in May if I don't get a golden ticket. So it could be 300 mile category races this year.
Wow. Oh, wow. Oh, we've got a friend going out in to do the UTMB one, but you'll be...
He'll be a few hours behind. You won't mind saying that.
So you're going back again. Amazing.
Yeah, it's the place to be.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I've been given the golden ticket to go out there for a long weekend.
Well, I reckon Max can sort of check out the crewing and see what it's like, and then he can crew me the following year.
Yeah, nice.
And if you could do any race in the world, which maybe you wouldn't normally be able to do because of your racing schedule as the athlete that you are, what would you like to do?
Le Mans, 24-hour racing.
Really?
In a car.
You Is that Formula One?
No, it's not Formula One. No.
Or Formula One. I think, how cool would it be? Like I was saying the other day to a friend, if you could be a professional sportsman, how good it would be to be a Formula One star.
I'm not sure I would choose. No, I'm not sure I'd choose it. I'm not sure I'd choose it. No. Well, I don't know what I choose. What about running races? As in ultra races, what would you choose?
Running races.
What are you like running in the cold? Because I'm seeing lots of these nice warm races on your socials and your website.
Yeah.
We're seeing many cold ones.
Maybe the one on Reunion, Diagonal to Foo. That's probably on the calendar at some point.
Which one's that one?
Down in near Madagascar? Yeah, Reunion Island, one of the French islands.
Is that cold?
No.
That's fun.
Okay, and what are your most valued items of kit?
Bum bag. I love a bum bag. It's great for like carrying kits.
Can you recommend
without sort of? Well, Carless don't make one yet. But in the past I've used an Innovate one, which actually I use for UTMB because like I can carry the entire kit list in a 3-litre bum bag, and then I can switch out my hydration vest really quickly. So I found that was like a good hack for saving time at the aid stations.
So you use the bum bag instead of the hydration vest?
Sometimes I just used to use the bum bag and no hydration vest and would just like stuff bottles down my shirt. So it's like a sort of lightweight minimalist setup.
Yeah, so you're basically shoving bottles down like a tight-fitting top. You're just chucking them down. It sounds like it's probably very, very triathlon. Is that a little hack that you learned when you were doing triathlon?
Sort of. It actually came from Manuel Marias, the Spanish runner. I raced against him a couple of years ago, and he didn't even have a pack on. He just had his waterproof tied around his waist, and then he just stuffed a bottle in there and a gel. And I thought it was quite a cool setup, very minimalist.
Yeah, I've seen somebody do that. They've stitched in their own pockets and they just have them there.
Good piece of kit. Good piece of kit.
Well, Tom, thank you very much for taking the time to have a chat with us. We will leave you to.
Look how much time's gone already. That's flown by.
Yeah, sorry, too much talking.
No,
that's my bad.
No, not at all. It's really flown by. It's been so interesting, and Matt's been so excited to speak to you, Tom. So excited.
Oh, good. Well, I was very excited as well. I love a good podcast about.
Yeah, I think it's really what we've spoken about is really, really interesting. Like both your personal journey and like talking about some of those things which went wrong in 2024 and how you've sort of hopefully come out the other side of it, and then talking about that sort of area of sponsorship as well, which I don't hear spoken about an awful lot, and I'm guessing that that's because there aren't a huge amount of people in that situation. But yeah, for people not in the know, to have a little listen to that is really interesting. Yeah. So thank you very much, and I will be watching your race results with even more interest.
And good luck. I hope you have a great run.
Yeah, I hope you have.
Thank you.
Best year, and good luck with it all.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming on, Tom.
Great talking to you.
Bye.